Hello fellow astrologers, and welcome to the Astrology Key Ring Fundamental Series. We want to kick it all off with giving a little bit of an intro as to what this book is and a little bit about how it works. Astrology is a symbolic language that helps us understand how different parts of life and personalities interact. A birth chart is a snapshot of the sky at the moment of birth, showing where the planets were positioned and how they relate to one another. Each planet represents a core function of consciousness, each sign shows how the energy expresses itself, and each house shows where it plays out in life. In this book, astrology is presented as a layer system, not a set of isolated meanings. Planets, signs, houses, and aspects all work together. No single placement exists on its own. Everything influences everything else. The goal of this guide is not memorization, but understanding the relationships between these components so you can interpret charts with confidence and flexibility. The Astrologer's Key Ring is designed to be interactive and practical, guiding you step by step from foundational concepts into real chart interpretation. Whether you're brand new or refining your skill, this book teaches you how to think astrologically, not just what the symbols mean, but how they function together. And before we talk a little bit about what all the different series are, we want to talk about how the interactive links work. Everything blue on this page is an interactive link for something. All of these parentheses are video links. When you click on it, it opens up a video that tells you about that particular subject. There's also a Google link. When you look at these, you can click on the Google link and it'll pull up a Google search, which will give you what Google AI has to say about the subject, as well as a number of other websites that you can look for a deeper dive. And if you click on the link, the number and page, it'll actually take you to the page in the book, which is very similar. If you open up the tab here, you can see that that same index off to the side will take you to whichever section. If you want to look at Sagittarius, for example, you can click on the actual link on the side here. It'll take you to that page. There'll also be a series of links on each page that will be connected to each different part of the topic that you can also click on. That'll give you a Google search. If you want to watch the video about that particular topic, you can click the link and it will take you directly to the video that we have on that topic. The entire book is designed to be one giant interactive set of links for people to go down whatever rabbit hole they want as they're exploring the book to learn more information. There's even at the very end of everything, if you go all the way to the bottom, anything that has a blue number and letter in the parentheses is one of our deeper dives where we didn't do it on these videos, but all these other videos have a deeper dive into those. We get into the actual key ring with a full detailed breakdown, and then we get straight into what are the four elements. The elements are the core energetic building blocks of astrology. They describe what kind of energy is being expressed before we even look at the signs, planets, or houses. We talk about how they operate psychologically, emotionally, and behaviorally. And it's a lot to do with understanding the elements that help you immediately recognize temperament, harmonies, motivation, and basic life approach in a chart. The elements are fire, earth, air, and water. Our next series is the B series, which is where we talk about quadruplicities, also known as modalities. In this series, we show how cardinal, fixed, and mutable energies approach change, action, stability, and adaptation. It helps explain why two people with similar placements may behave very differently. Modalities are the key to understanding discordance, resistance, and life rhythm in a chart. We start out with B0, where we go over all three of them in general, but then we go through later on with B1, 2, and 3, where we actually go into more detail about what each one of them are. Then we move on to the C series, which are what are the 12 signs. When you combine an element with a modality, you get an actual sign. No two signs have the same element and modality. The zodiac signs describe how energy expresses itself. Each sign represents a distinct personality style, instinctual responses, and worldviews. This series explores strengths, challenges, and behavior patterns associated with each sign and shows how triplicity and modalities create a sign when you put them together. Signs act as the filters through which planetary energies flow. And at the end of C13, we discuss about cuspy signs. You may have some planets that are on the cusp between two different signs, and we discuss a little bit about that in C13. Which leads us into the next section, the D series, where we talk about the individual planets. When your average person thinks of astrology, they think about horoscopes, which is typically just your sun sign, whatever sign the sun was in when you were born. But when you get into the actual basic astrology, you're going to learn about what all the planets are in whatever sign that they're in. It gives you a more full understanding of what's going on with your chart when you know what the sign is of each one of your planets, not just your sun sign. And that is the first step of understanding basic astrology. And understanding a basic birth chart is understanding what all the signs are. In the D series, we focus on the planets that are the active force of the chart, the planets and their key points. Planets and luminaries represent the drive, instincts, needs, and functions of consciousness, where points of interest like the midheaven, part of fortune, north and south nodes showed orientation, directions, and life themes that add more flavor to what it is in your chart. This series forms a psychological backbone of a chart interpretation. And once you're ready to move past the basic understanding of your basic birth chart, you move on to the intermediate size where we get into the actual houses themselves. The houses start to describe where in life some of these things happen. Each house represents a specific area of life, like identity, resources, communication, relationships, career, and much, much more. The E series shows how planets express themselves differently depending on where they show up in the placement of your chart. So when you combine what sign your specific planet's in, along with what house that planet is in as well, you're getting into the more intermediate side of birth charts. We kick off the series with E0, where we go over the 12 houses in general, and then we go all the way through all the 12 houses. And when you're finally ready to take an advanced look at your actual birth chart, we'll get into the actual aspects. In the F section, we focus on what are the major aspects of a chart. There are typically 5 major aspects: the conjunct, the sextile, the square, the trine, and the opposition. But we also do touch a little bit on the 7 more commonly known minor aspects as well. There are some other ones besides just these 7, but we touch on the 7 most common. And what aspects have to do is they describe how planets interact with each other. They reveal harmonies, discordances, tensions, growth, conflict, natural talents, and the timing you have in your chart. This series explains both the major and the minor aspects and how they function not only in a natal chart, but also in synastry charts and in transit charts. Aspects are the geometry that bring a chart to life. And they do a lot to fill out the final bits of detail when you're looking at any chart. And last but not least, we added in the what to consider and learn next. This whole book is just a bunch of the fundamentals. When it comes down to how to apply them to different types of astrology, we put this whole G section together to discuss a lot about that. In this series, we focus on how to practically apply what you've learned in here, not just the isolated meanings, but how it's practically applied to different types of charts. This series teaches you how to read charts as a whole by combining planets, signs, houses, and aspects together to get a rough idea of how interpretations work. And not just applying it to just birth charts, it also talks about getting into synastry, transits, and a number of other different types of astrology you may want to get into. The emphasis on this section is placed on interpretation, pattern recognition, and developing your own astrological language. This is where astrology becomes more intuitive, flexible, and personal as you develop your style of understanding astrology. Our first video is what to consider learning, where we go over a bunch of different topics that take you far beyond just the fundamentals. The second video is where you can actually find software, where we actually give you links to the freeware that we use that's been very helpful, and we teach you a little bit on how to use it. The next video is on birth charts, how we go about looking at and interpreting basic birth charts, and how you can use that as a pattern when you're going to try to look at birth charts yourself. The next video we get into synastry charts, where you look at two birth charts together and you see where the compatibilities are. It can also show you where you're harmonious, or you may have some discordances between the two people in the charts. And finally, our last video is on transits. And in transits, we talk about taking a birth chart and looking at what the planets are doing right now to show how they're affecting you in real time. You could also look at things that are to come in the future to get a rough idea of what kind of things the universe is throwing at you. Because one of the things we really stress about astrology, you don't have a destiny pre-picked out for you. You do have free will. Astrology may be showing you that you may fall into things in life that are easy for you to just take advantage and capitalize. But whether or not you choose to act on those things is your choice. It also can show follies that may come, or it's different kind of obstacles that may stand in your way. Now, whether you choose to overcome them or try to figure out ways around them is up to you, because we are not our thoughts at the end of the day. We are the observer, and we have the choice whether or not we're going to let those opportunities stagnate and not take advantage of them, or we let those mishaps get the better of us, or we learn how to overcome them. Ultimately, that's our choice. And that's a big part of learning astrology, because when you understand how astrology works, it gives you more free will than it would if you just let life come at you randomly. All in all, this book isn't meant to be read through once and set aside. It's meant for you to use it, to revisit it, and to grow with it. Astrology is a living language, and your understanding of it will deepen as you return to these concepts with new charts, new experiences, and new questions. You can use the videos when you want explanation. You can use the links when you want to explore further, and you can jump from page to page when you need to quickly connect ideas together. Over time, this keyring becomes less about memorizing meaning and more about developing your own intuitive, confident way of reading charts. Thank you for joining us in this video. We have spent a whole year preparing this ebook and 118 instructional videos for future astrologers. It was a lot of work, but we hope you all enjoy it and take the time to subscribe and try out our Patreon. We appreciate the love and support from all of you guys. Thank you very much, and have a blessed journey.